Okay, Thursday, 20th of March, 2025. So Adrian's daily vlog, sharing smart stuff men should know. Thoughtful Thursday, philosophy and musings from life. No such thing as good or evil, only productive or counterproductive to the individual or tribe. Now, this is something very interesting that I've been hearing a little bit about in say a bit of a YouTube channel elsewhere, to an old mentor of mine, someone I used to look up to, Gonzalo Lira, which I did a video about him just over a year ago. And in one of these long videos, he talked about ethics. And he talks about this interesting idea where no such thing as good or evil. And that interestingly makes sense. It's subjective. As a matter of fact, really, it's all subjective, moral subjectivism. What is ethical and right here may not be ethical and right 1,000 miles that way, or 1,000 miles that way, or 1,000 miles that way. Likewise, what's ethical and right here today may not be ethical and right here 100 years from now, or 100 years ago. 1,000 years. 1,000 years in the future or ago. 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 miles that way. 2, 3, 4,000 miles that way. Could be complete different standard. Interesting. So then it's one of those things where when you squint hard enough, maybe in fact there is no such thing as good or evil. It's subjective opinion. Again, what is acceptable here may not be acceptable elsewhere. And then he goes on to say that only productive or counterproductive to the individual or tribe. And that's very interesting, because there's a video that I want to do in the future. It's a Thursday video, but there's so many I want to do. That talks about the noble lie that is society, meaning how whatever this society used to be functional and survive, versus this society over there, 100, 1,000 miles away or 1,000 years apart, for example, what they needed to function, to be cohesive, let's say, and to survive, as in, not starve or die in the winter or drought, things like that, to survive. What was productive for this society, what helped them survive and thrive, may not be productive what helped them survive over here, for genetic reasons, environmental reasons, historical reasons, war, for example, or technology, things like that. And when you really follow this logic, and going off a little bit of a tangent, you could really say that humans today are maladapted to the world we've built, the contemporary society with the technology, the information, the standards, everything else like that. Maladapted, but that's a little off topic, but the logic is very sound. So then when you look at this tribe over here, and this tribe says X is good and Y is bad, and over here Y is bad and X is good, who's right in the truest sense? Well, I think that question of right is a bit of an arbitrary man-made question, because in this case there is no right. It's just what works. Because when we're talking about it, we're talking in the realms of nature, in the realms of survival, evolution, in the realms of continuing the genetic legacy. What works over here in a rainforest or a cold place or anything versus here in the desert. Different genetics, different gene pools, different environments and beyond. So the X over here, what works and helps them survive in that place is good for the tribe, the society, the community, the nation, and how big you're talking, and the individual, genetically speaking, or as part of that tribe, what helps maintain that social cohesion. Very important. And over here, different world, different society, different standards, different environment. That X could be bad, but that Y could be good for countless reasons: history, technology, nature, genetics, and beyond. It makes sense. And when you follow that logic, you then come to the conclusion that maybe indeed there is no such thing as good or bad. It's all subjective. It's all dependent on what the standards are of the tribe in that time and place. Is it productive for the tribe? Does it help them survive? And the individual, does it help the individual live in terms of eating something and not dying, or in terms of having the enzymes inside us to process certain kinds of foods, milk or lactose or alcohol and things like that? Yes, no, maybe. And then the social cohesion. This tribe may have come to the conclusion that X behavior is bad. It's a taboo, let's say, a social phenomenon in a way, and so they don't do it. But over here, it's totally normal. No, they don't care about it. And yet that tribe is cohesive. That tribe works. It's self-evident because that tribe has survived over the decades and century. Ah, interesting. Very interesting. What works over here may not work over there. Perfect. Very interesting. And it makes sense. A very interesting idea and concept. Really, I plan to do more topics on this in the future because it can go much deeper than that. But yes, when you follow that logic based on genetics and environment, social cohesion, anthropology, really, it points to the concept that there is no such thing as good or evil. It's all subjective morality, really, in the truest sense. It's arbitrary. And then you could say, well, what works in that tribe and that place, and what works over there? The only things that are good or bad, so to speak, is if it's productive or counterproductive to the tribe or the individual. Makes sense. Anything detrimental to either, to both or either, is considered evil, bad, or amoral, or a moral label is attached to it. Subjective morality based on the question of resources and what is productive, useful, or resource efficient for the individual and tribe. Makes sense. Whereas it is a time period, so then it's a time-dependent judgment call. Also location-dependent as well. Again, with technology, social standards, historical factors, and environmental factors, it's a judgment call based on that subjective moment in time. There's a storm over here, there's a famine over there, there's snow over here, desert over there, there's a war over there, there's peace over there. It's a judgment call. Does this behavior or that behavior, the countless behaviors and actions, are they good or bad? Small tribe has one too many mouths to feed. Okay, so then it could be more socially acceptable to do things that would keep the tribe smaller, essentially put. And you could call it evil today in modern society with tech, supply chains, wealth, internet, etc. But back here, in this location in the world, in the year 2000 BC, it would have been considered smart or prudent, or the choice would have made sense. This place, 2,000 years ago, a tribe, let's say, the way they would have thought things through, today, this exact location, we would consider evil or bad or barbaric or medieval, things like that. But even though at the time, it would have been a right judgment call for the circumstances. The circumstance, that's powerful, it makes sense. You could call it evil today in modern society with all the luxuries, technology, supply chains, wealth, internet, etc. But 2,000 years ago, judgment call, different situation, different world, different place, different time. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. Very interesting. So then again, it's subjective morality on a judgment call at the time. Therefore, it leads to the conclusion, no such thing as good or evil. Very interesting. The logic makes sense. Very interesting. It's worth understanding and being aware of that. Well, I plan to do more videos about this kind of topic, but yeah, very interesting. Okay, I did a video similar to this actually in November. I remember where I was, but I can't remember. I think it's the 19th of November. I'm guessing, so I really can't remember. Yeah, so there's a video related to this as well, but nonetheless, yeah, I can't remember what it's called, but I do remember it. All right, but otherwise, Adrian's daily vlog, sharing smart stuff men should know. Subscribe for more, and you will see me tomorrow.